Hello and welcome to Bridging the Gap. I'm your host, Todd Johnson, and we're glad to be in your living room or wherever you might be viewing this program today. Today we have a very exciting program in store for you. Our first guest is Melinda Ingersoll, who is director of the Student Studying Abroad program. Melinda, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
I want to dive right into it to tell our audience exactly what your program is, what it does, and what type of students you might garner in your program.
Sure. So, well, we have study abroad programs, which our students go abroad for a semester, or they can go abroad over the summer. We also have what is called travel study, and these are classes taught here at Salle, and as part of the class, faculty members travel with students for about 10 days. And we have a range of students from all different majors and all different programs that can go abroad. We also have all different years, so students as early as their sophomore year can go abroad all the way until their senior year.
So they study all over the world?
All over the world. We have a LaSallian Consortium program, which means all the different LaSallian schools in the U.S. There are 5 other ones besides ourselves, and they can go abroad through any of the other programs that our LaSallian schools offer. So they range from Argentina to China to South Africa, European countries, pretty much all over.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Now, how did you get involved in this particular, it seems like your job is an adventure more than it would be a job.
When I was younger, I always was fascinated with National Geographic and traveling, and I was a photographer and I loved photography. I came from a big family, so I couldn't travel a lot, and so it was always my dream to travel. And when I was in graduate school, I became interested in working in an international building. We had a lot of students coming from abroad, and I ended up studying abroad during my graduate school in England. And when I came back, I really wanted to get more into study abroad, so I talked to the folks over at my university how to do it. And when I finished graduate work, I ended up moving to China for a little while and got some international experience that way. So it just kind of felt like that was my path. And when I came to Philadelphia about 8 years ago, I started working at LaSalle as their late night LaSalle coordinator. And the person that was in this position was leaving and asked me to apply for the job. And so I did, and I got it. And literally, this is my dream job, so I couldn't be happier where I am.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, some of your students, I guess they come and they may not know where they want to study, so how do you gear them or direct them in where they might want to go?
Sure. Well, a few things. I tend to ask them kind of where in the world, if they could go anywhere, where would they want to go? And then also looking at their major, looking at their finances. So those things also play a factor. Some students might not be able to afford to go for a semester, so maybe our travel study would be a better option for them, or go for the summer. Our travel study programs, I co-teach a class on India and China with another faculty member in the history department, Dr. Charles Denoyers. And we go usually to China and then we alternate to India. So this year we're going to India. And what I find with our students is a lot of them do not want to go on their own to China or India, or they just wouldn't want to go for a long length of time, so they feel more comfortable traveling in a short amount of time with us. And then the summer programs too is a shorter amount of time, so if they can't do it during the semester, it gives them the option to go abroad, but also won't interfere with maybe their studies or the academic credits that they need here.
Now, when someone goes and studies and they come back, what are some of the success stories that you hear?
Yeah, it's interesting on where they're going. So I use my India class as an example because it's so extreme that students come back really changed, even though we're there for a short amount of time, because they're inundated with so much going on at once. So they definitely come back changed in a way that they understand the world a little bit differently. And it also whets their appetite to want to experience more and to step outside their comfort zone. So I think when students come back, whether it's somewhere exotic as India or somewhere in Europe, they have a sense of confidence in themselves. They have a sense of adventure. They usually want to go back again. They are more interested in world politics. They also meet friends from all over. So then they now have friends and a network of people that they wouldn't have had otherwise. And I think also one of the things that I realize when our students go abroad is that they get involved in the local communities, and then they feel also part of the culture that they're studying. And depending on the duration of time, they might feel if they're there for a whole semester, that's their home for 5 months. So that becomes really a place that now it's no longer just that they're visiting, they're there, that's their home. So when they come back, some of them feel a little bit lost and they're homesick for the country that they just came back from.
Now, I had a question. If someone is in your program and they go away to another continent and they come back, is there a way to kind of bridge them into a community here in Philadelphia? Let's say they went to India or China. Both of those communities are very vibrant here in Philadelphia. Do they connect with some of the local communities here?
Honestly, we try. The students, when they come back, a lot of them seem to be very busy. And I find that they're the students that are involved in a lot of different activities. So we try to do different things to get them involved in, i.e. our international students that are here on campus. University of Pennsylvania is doing their UPenn Scholar Reception, and it's every year, so our study abroad students can go there and meet other students from all over the world. I encourage them, I talk to them about it, especially if they express interest to me that they really want to get involved in the community here. For sure, yeah. When we do for example, our India trip, we take students to a local Sikh temple so they understand and get them involved in the local South Asian community before we go. And I think it's a challenge though when they come back, because they kind of feel a little bit at sea because their friends haven't had that experience. So their friends don't understand what they're going through, and so they're trying to fit back in with their friendship groups, but then they still kind of feel like they're part of this other culture now. But it's definitely something that I think I should work on more, is getting them more opportunities, or at least giving them resources of where they can go to get involved in the local community.
That's great.
Yeah.
I've never had a chance to travel abroad per se, not when I was a student anyway, but I would imagine the excitement of being able to travel and go to places that you've heretofore only read about or maybe saw on a movie or a TV show but never actually been. That must be extremely rewarding.
It is. It's nothing like it. And even when I go every year or whenever I go, I still get that feeling, you know? And I try to tell the students who've traveled a lot to remind yourself of how fortunate you are, first of all, that you have this opportunity, but also to really take it in. Whenever I take students, let's say to China, and we climb the Great Wall, my favorite thing to do is to sit there and watch them come up and see the wall for the first time and the excitement on their faces. There's nothing like it. Or when they see the Taj Mahal, or when students email me pictures from their abroad and how, you know, when the new Pope just was, came into power, you saw all the students at the Vatican cheering on with their Salle sweatshirts, and that was just really cool to see that and be part of that, even if it was vicariously through photos and Facebook. It's definitely an exciting thing.
And the world doesn't seem, I guess, to someone who studied abroad, it doesn't seem as huge. It seems like it's smaller because your world becomes more encapsulated. Because you're able to have experience and say, oh, I've been to India, or I've been to China, or I've been to Russia. That must be a great avenue for discussion when you're at a party. Or, you know, I would just imagine that it has a whirlwind of activity in someone's mind to be able to say, I actually had the opportunity to travel to a place that I've only dreamed about.
I think so, it is. And I think it's a humbling thing. And one of the things that I think people tend to think, I'm always cautious when I talk to people about traveling, because sometimes people associate it with being rich and having a lot of money, and that there's snobbery with it.
Right.
And in fact, it isn't. And I don't come from wealth at all. And a lot of the times that I traveled, I had to find creative ways to get there, or take out additional loans and pay them off, or save all the money I had for a whole year just to pay for that one plane ticket.
Wow.
And I think that it's not, like, our students are not that wealthy, so them going abroad isn't a prestigious thing. I think it's something that everybody should have the opportunity to do. And I think it's something that, it's very interesting conversation for people to hear. What's out there. I have talked to people who are just really interested in learning about a different culture but have never been there, so I can talk to them about it. And what I try to do is dispel any stereotypes. And that's my biggest thing. I went to Tanzania with the students on a service trip, and I came back, and it's just amazing how many stereotypes people have.
I would just imagine, because they're making such a great sacrifice to travel, that it would make them much more appreciative of the opportunity to travel. But that's a great program. Hopefully somebody viewing this today will take that initiative and say, I want to go to LaSalle or Penn or somewhere where they have a program where they can study abroad. And thank you for being on our program. We look forward to hearing some great stories from you throughout the year of some of the students who have traveled.
Okay, thank you.
Now, don't you go away. We'll be right back. And you stay tuned. We're going to talk to a student when we come back who has traveled abroad, and we want to hear some of her experiences. So don't you go away, because I'm sure she's got some exciting adventures to share with us.
In order to beat breast cancer, I knew I would have to lose my breasts. But to reclaim my life, I chose breast reconstruction.
Each year, nearly 150,000 women will learn they will undergo a mastectomy due to breast cancer. But 7 out of 10 women are never told about their breast reconstruction options. Breast reconstruction is a very important part of the healing process, both physically and emotionally. Download my song Flower to share the message and help us share the fact that women can feel whole again.
114th Infantry Company, Iraq.
The memories are all blurred.
I don't know what's wrong with me.
The words, they're hard to find.
I came back a different person.
I wonder if she's better off without me.
You just feel alone.
You gave all to the cause of freedom. Now it's our turn to give our all to you. It's free and totally confidential. Reach us at operationnotforgotten.com. We are here.
Welcome to Cook It Safe Challenge. In this round, teams must read and follow package cooking instructions and know your microwave wattage.
1100 watts.
You can find the wattage in the owner's manual, on the appliance label, or by contacting the manufacturer. Each team has been given a frozen entree to safely prepare.
Oh, wait, what is the wattage of the microwave? Whatever.
Oh, sorry, Team 2. You get a red card for not checking the cooking instructions and not knowing the wattage.
Wattage? It won't just cook?
Microwaves have different wattages.
I told you we should have checked the package instructions and checked the wattage of the microwave. It's not cooked safely. I wouldn't eat this, it's cold.
If you don't follow the cooking instructions, some foods may be hot but may not have reached a safe internal temperature. Use a food thermometer to be sure.
You win. We just kept focus on reading and following the package cooking instructions.
We knew the wattage of our microwave so the food cooked safely.
And the challenge continues. Can you cook it safe?
Hello and welcome back to Bridging the Gap. I'm your host, Todd Johnson, and today we're talking about studying abroad. And we have a student, Katie Hummel, who studied abroad just recently. And Katie, welcome to Bridging the Gap.
Thank you for having me.
Would you share with our audience where you went and why?
Sure. I studied abroad in Rome, Italy this past spring semester. And it's kind of interesting why I decided to choose Rome out of all of the different places I could have gone. Initially, I was looking at the programs LaSalle specifically sponsored. The financial aspects of it were easier, and it really covered a lot of the main European countries that I wanted to go to. I picked Rome just because it's in a very central location in Italy. It made it a lot easier to travel to other countries. And to really be in a city environment. That's one of the reasons I chose LaSalle, was to live in Philadelphia, and I really was attracted to living in the city. So, and just the opportunity to go to Rome, like it's a beautiful city. There's so much history, so much culture, and it's really unlike any place I've ever been before. I've never really traveled. I've never been to Europe before this semester. I had traveled outside of the U.S. to Mexico and to Canada, but never, 4,000 miles away across the ocean. So I was really looking forward to learning more about the culture, hopefully learning some of the language, and getting to travel within Europe as well.
Did you learn some of the language?
I did. I took an Italian class before I left. And I've also studied Spanish previously, so making the transition from Spanish to Italian was pretty simple. Like, there's a lot of similarities. Once I got there, though, I was taking a class just because it was required, but I learned a lot of interesting phrases just from using the public transportation or from hearing my neighbors talk to each other, because we were living in a very residential area of the city, and virtually no one on my street spoke English. So we were really thrown into the cultural environment in that way.
Now, I have a really silly question.
Sure.
When I watch a movie and I see someone who's studying abroad or somebody who's from another culture, do tourists or people who are not from that country, do they stick out like a sore thumb, or do people know that you're an American, or how's that work?
People definitely knew I was an American. I don't know if it was just because the first few weeks I was walking around kind of with wide eyes and taking in everything for the first time, but we definitely stood out as young American students, and actually as the semester went on, we could spot other American tourists. We could tell that if someone was walking around in tennis shoes, or if someone was wearing a fanny pack or shorts and sneakers, we knew they were Americans just because they were equipped to take pictures and tour and be on their feet all day, and they didn't really care what they looked like. And so that was interesting how, we were living there as Americans, but we could spot our fellow countrymen in the same city. But Italians definitely knew that I was American, partly because they have very particular dress codes, I guess you could say. Like, they are very attentive to what they wear and how they wear their clothing. I have a funny story about the very first few weeks I was there. The weather there is a lot warmer than it is at home. So I don't think it ever went below like 45 degrees Fahrenheit during the wintertime. And this one day it was particularly warm, and I left my winter coat at home because it was a half-an-hour walk to school. I figured it would be too hot by the time I got there. And as I was walking to school, the Italians who I passed stopped and stared at me, and then followed me with their gaze as I was walking, because I was without a winter coat in the middle of February. So in that way, I definitely stood out as an American, and I learned what dress code behaviors were appropriate for particular seasons. And Italians do, especially in Rome, they do have a tendency to make eye contact with people who are, they can tell who are not from Rome or not from the city. So. Did you make some friends there who, once you return back to the States, that you continue to communicate with through Facebook or what have you? I do keep in touch with some of the American students I studied with. I was studying at the American University of Rome, so the student population there, at least in the study abroad sense, they were all American students. They do have some students there who go to earn a degree. They go there for all 4 years. Some of them are American, but some are from other countries as well, and a couple of Italians go there. But there's a very distinct gap between the resident students and the study abroad students. So I wasn't able to get as close with some of the residents and hear some of their experiences as I would have liked. But the American girls who I lived with in Rome, we do keep in touch via Facebook now and then, wishing each other happy birthdays and things like that. So.
Did it prepare you for when you re-entered into the United States, I guess you had a lot of stories and exciting things to tell.
I did. And coming home, it wasn't a difficult experience, but the first couple days as I was getting over the jet lag and things like that, there were definitely some differences. I remember one of the first few days I was home, I was reaching into my snack cabinet in my house, and I was just amazed at how much food was in there, like just the amount of food of every variety that we had. Because one of the things that we noticed in Rome, they have grocery stores, but they also have like very small specialty shops where you can go to get bread or you can go to get meat and cheese, and people don't buy in bulk. It's just not done there. The foods aren't prepared with a lot of preservatives, so
they might shop, what, 2 or 3 times a week?
Probably, you shop for the meal that you're preparing that night.
Wow.
And so we sort of got into that habit over there, not to buy a lot of food, not to consume a lot of food. And then I came home and I opened my snack cabinet and there's 6 boxes of cookies and granola bars and just all this food of so many varieties that I forgot about. So that was one of the biggest shocks coming back. Another thing that I had to remind myself about was that you can't walk anywhere in the United States as easily as you can in the city. I'm also from suburban New Jersey, so everything there is accessible by car.
Right.
But one of the things I loved about living in the city in Rome was that you could take public transit or you could walk, and it was a great way to clear your head after you were coming home from a class, or to justify getting a scoop of gelato on the way home. So I just felt very active, very healthy while I was living there, and coming home to, relying on a car was definitely a big transition.
I'm a lover of food, as you can probably tell. So my question is, the Italian food that's here in the United States, is there a distinctive difference when you travel to Rome and actually eat the indigenous food?
I would say so. The food in Rome was unlike anything I've ever tasted before. One of my favorite dishes there was actually lasagna that I got just at a little shop across the street from my apartment. I don't know what it is, but I think the way they make their cheese or just the fresh ingredients that they use, the lasagna was out of this world. I would highly recommend it to anyone who travels there.
So it's nothing like what the lasagna I would get at the Olive Garden? Or
No, it's definitely not. And typical Italian-American dishes like chicken parmesan or like the Olive Garden breadsticks or things like that you associate with Italian food here don't exist over there.
Wow.
And so learning the cuisine habits was a lot of fun. The pizza too. I haven't even eaten like Domino's since I've been back because I just can't do it. The pizza there was incredible, just incredible.
Sounds like it. When you traveled, and of course you were there for academic purposes as well, how were you able to juggle your time and also your travel time, and you wanted to probably go to the museum or...
The schedule with the university there was really nice because it's only a 4-day school week. So we were in classes Monday through Thursday, but then we were off Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So having that extra day did allow for a lot of time for us to really get to know the city really well. We even just on afternoons during the week, it was very easy to go into the city, go get something to eat, or visit a museum. It was also interesting because I'm very involved on campus at Salle, and so I've gotten used to budgeting my time between my courses and my homework, and then all the activities that I'm involved in. When I went abroad, I made the choice not to join as many clubs or not to get as involved because I really wanted to take the time for myself to travel, to learn about the culture, and to really enjoy the experience for what it was. So I actually had a lot of time to do my homework, and once I finished that, I was able to travel on certain weekends, or I was able to explore the city with friends. And it was very relaxing in a way, not to be so busy and be so conscious of my time.
That's amazing. That's an experience I guess you'll treasure for the rest of your life.
Definitely.
Will you go back to Italy at some point?
I would love to go back to Italy and be someone's tour guide. My sister really wants to go because my family wasn't able to visit during the semester. And so I would love to take her around and show her all of these things that are now so familiar to me.
Now here's a silly question. The Vatican.
Yes.
Did you have a chance to visit?
I did. The Vatican was my favorite place in Rome.
Wow.
I am Catholic, so I felt very at home there when I went to visit. And I actually was there the night the Pope was announced.
Wow.
It was incredible. It was during our midterms week at the school. And so everyone was buzzing and very nervous that the announcement would come when everyone was in a test. But fortunately, the announcement came at night. And my apartment was about 20 minutes from the Vatican.
Wow.
So we were all watching for the smoke on our laptops on CNN's live stream. And then the minute it got announced, we booked it up to the Vatican.
I guess that was an experience
I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it.
And the people in the square, I guess it was just jam-packed.
They were buzzing, and it was interesting. There were so many languages flying around because of all the different tourists who were there. And I remember we were struggling to understand. They made the announcement in Latin, I think. We were struggling to understand the person's name and what country they were from. And I turned around and heard this little nun on her phone saying the word Argentina over and over.
Right.
And she was speaking in Italian, but you could sort of understand what she was saying.
That's exciting. That is really
It was
exciting.
absolutely wonderful.
And to be so young and have your experience traveling abroad, that's,
Yeah.
Oh wow, I'm jealous. I'm sitting here jealous now. But of course, I guess students will look at you and some might be encouraged to want to travel.
I hope
when you share your stories with them, I'm sure that some of the students who you're friends with might say, hey, I want to travel. I'd like to do that.
Yeah, I hope so. It was a really positive experience.
That's great.
So.
Yes. That's great. Now, how are you going to use your experience in Italy? Just sum it up real quick if you could, and tell us how are you going to continue that Italian vein here now that you're back in the States?
Having the language skill is really useful, and just being able to communicate with different people and having that cultural background. What I want to do, especially in my last year at La Salle, is just be a source of information for other students who are going abroad. And just the real sense of independence and self-growth that I had during that semester, I think is something that I'll take with me.
That's great. Thank you,
Sure.
Katie. Again, I'm Todd Johnson, your host. When one's on the right, another's on the left. When we reach towards the middle, we begin to bridge the gap. Until next time, love somebody and be nice to everybody. Bye for now.